I watched my sister steal my entire life's work in under 4 minutes. She stood at the front of that boardroom in my favorite color, navy blue, holding printed slides I had never seen before, speaking words I had written, describing a vision I had built from nothing over 18 months of sleepless nights and cold coffee and weekends I would never get back. She didn't stumble. She didn't hesitate. She smiled at those investors like she had thought of every single word herself. And the worst part? They believed her. Every nod. Every impressed glance exchanged across that long glass table. Every murmur of, "This is impressive," and "We'd love to know more." All of it meant for me. None of it reaching me. Because nobody in that room knew I existed. Nobody except the man sitting in the far left corner, the lead investor, the one whose yes or no would determine everything, who had glanced at the door exactly 30 seconds before my sister began her presentation. 30 seconds before I walked in. I found a seat quietly at the back of the room. And I waited. But before we dive deeper into this story, I want to ask you a small favor. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button right now. We are on our way to 2,000 subscribers, and we are not even halfway through. Every single one matters deeply to me. And if this story already has you feeling something, go ahead and tap that like button. It takes 2 seconds, and it truly means the world. Thank you. Now, let's get into it. Let me take you back to where this really began. 18 months before that boardroom, I was sitting at my kitchen table at 2 in the morning with 3 empty coffee cups, a notebook covered in ink, and the specific kind of exhaustion that only comes from working on something you genuinely love. I had an idea. Not the vague kind of idea that floats through your mind and disappears by morning. The real kind. The kind that wakes you up at night and follows you into the shower and sits with you through every meeting and every meal until you finally sit down and give it the attention it demands. My idea was a subscription platform for independent African fashion designers, a single digital space where small-scale designers across the continent could showcase their work, connect directly with international buyers, and retain full ownership of their brand without going through expensive middlemen who took the majority of the profit. I had been working in fashion retail for 4 years. I had watched talented designers get swallowed by larger brands, lose their creative identity, get paid fractions of what their work was worth. I wanted to change that. I spent 18 months building the business plan, market research, financial projections, platform design mock-ups, partnership proposals. I filled 3 notebooks and countless digital documents with every detail of how this would work, who it would serve, and why it mattered. I was 3 months away from being ready to approach investors. And then I made the one mistake that changed everything. I told my sister, her name is Vanessa, 2 years older than me, sharper in conversation than almost anyone I have ever met, and blessed with the specific kind of confidence that fills rooms before she even speaks. We had always been close, or at least I believed we had. I sat across from her at our mother's kitchen table on a Sunday afternoon, and I laid out my entire vision. Every detail, every projection, every dream I had been carrying quietly for a year and a half. She leaned forward the entire time I was talking. She asked intelligent questions. She challenged certain assumptions in ways that actually helped me think more clearly. She said at the end, and I remember these words exactly, "This is genuinely brilliant. I am so proud of you." I drove home that evening, feeling lighter than I had in months. I should have noticed the way she photographed every page of my notebook before I left. I didn't. 6 weeks later, I received an email. It came from the assistant of Marcus Reed, one of the most respected venture capital investors in the fashion and technology space, a man whose backing had launched 3 companies I personally admired. The email said that Mr. Reed's firm was looking forward to the presentation scheduled for the following Thursday, and asked for confirmation of attendance. I read that email 4 times. I had never contacted Marcus Reed's firm. I had never scheduled a presentation with anyone. My hands were shaking slightly as I typed back asking for clarification on which presentation they were referring to. The assistant replied within minutes with a calendar invitation. The presenter's name was Vanessa, my sister's name, my idea, my research, my 18 months, her name on the calendar invitation of the investor I had been dreaming of approaching for over a year. I sat very still for a long time. I did not call Vanessa. I did not send an angry message. I did not call my mother crying. I did not do any of the things that the version of me from 5 years ago would have done immediately and loudly and with a great deal of emotion that would have changed nothing. Instead, I picked up my phone and I called Marcus Reed's office directly. I introduced myself by my full name and the name of my company. I told his assistant that I was the original creator of the concept being presented on Thursday and that I would very much like to attend that meeting. There was a pause. Then she said she would pass the message to Mr. Reed personally. He called me back within the hour. I want to pause here for a second, because I know some of you listening right now have been betrayed by someone you completely trusted. Not a stranger, not an enemy, but someone you loved, someone you opened up to on a quiet Sunday afternoon and showed your whole heart to. If that's you, I see you. Drop a comment below and tell me your story. I read every single one. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do it now. We are building something special here together, and I want you to be part of it from the beginning. Marcus Reed was not a man who wasted words. In our phone call, he spoke for exactly 4 minutes. He told me he had done some research after receiving my message. He had found an interview I had given 8 months earlier to a small industry blog about the gap in the market for African fashion designers and digital platforms. The interviewer had asked me about my future plans, and I had spoken, carefully but clearly, about a concept I was developing. The concept matched what his team had been briefed on by Vanessa, almost word for word. He said he would like me to attend Thursday's meeting. I said I would be there. I did not tell Vanessa. I arrived at the building on Thursday morning 20 minutes early. I signed in at reception, took the lift to the 14th floor, and was shown to a seat in the waiting area outside the boardroom. When the door opened and my sister walked in ahead of the firm's junior associates, she did not look toward the waiting area. I watched her back disappear into the boardroom. I gave it 30 seconds. Then I followed. I opened the boardroom door quietly and found a seat at the back without saying a word. 2 of the junior associates looked up. Marcus Reed, already seated at the head of the table, looked at me and gave one small nod. My sister was arranging her printed slides at the front of the room. She had not yet turned around. She began her presentation, and I sat at the back of that room and listened to my own words come out of my sister's mouth for 4 minutes and 37 seconds. Then Marcus Reed raised one hand gently and said, "Vanessa, before you continue, I'd like to introduce someone who I believe you already know." My sister turned around, and the color left her face so completely and so instantly that 3 people around the table visibly leaned forward. I stood up. I smiled at the room, and I said, calmly, clearly, without a single tremor in my voice, "Hello, everyone. My name is Sophia. This is my company, and I'd love to tell you about it properly, if you don't mind." The meeting lasted 2 more hours. Vanessa left after 20 minutes. She did not say a single word on her way out. She gathered her printed slides, my slides, and walked out of that boardroom, and I did not watch her go, because I was too busy answering the questions of 6 investors who were leaning forward with exactly the kind of attention I had spent 18 months working toward. Marcus Reed's firm made an offer before I left the building. I signed the paperwork 3 weeks later. My company launched 8 months after that. As for Vanessa, she called me that same evening. I let it go to voicemail. She called again the next morning, and the morning after that. On the 4th day I answered. She cried. She explained. She apologized in the way that people apologize when they have been caught rather than when they are truly sorry. Lots of words, very little accountability. I listened to all of it, and then I said very quietly, I forgive you, but I need you to understand something. You didn't just try to steal my idea. You tried to steal the version of me that had finally stopped being afraid. And that is something I will not be moving past quickly. I hung up gently, and I went back to work. And that is my story. 18 months of work, one Sunday afternoon of trust, and a Thursday morning that changed everything. Now, let me be honest with you, because honesty is what this channel is built on. If I were in this situation, what would I have done? Exactly what she did. No screaming phone call to Vanessa the night I found out. No dramatic confrontation at the family dinner table. Nothing that would have made me look emotional and her look like the victim. Just one quiet phone call to the right person. One seat taken at the back of the right room. And the confidence to stand up and say, "This is mine." Because here is what I want every woman listening to this today to understand. The people who try to take what is yours are counting on your silence. They are counting on you being too hurt, too shocked, too afraid of conflict to show up. Show up anyway. Show up quietly. Show up prepared. Show up so completely and so thoroughly yourself that there is no room left for anyone else's version of your story. And to anyone who has ever taken credit for something that wasn't theirs, know this. The original always surfaces. Always. You cannot build a lasting foundation on someone else's vision. It will crack. It will crumble. And when it does, the person you tried to erase will already be 3 steps ahead of where you left them. Now I want to hear from you. What would you have done in that boardroom? Would you have confronted your sister publicly right then and there, or handled it the way she did? Tell me in the comments. I genuinely want to know. We are getting close to the moment you've been waiting for. But before you go, I need you to do something for me. If this story has been speaking to you, if this journey feels familiar in any way, please like this video right now. It genuinely helps more people find this channel and hear stories like this one. Shout out to everyone who subscribed today. I love you all.